All right, so what's going on, guys? So today we're going to be working on the relay harness. Now, I want to be talking to you guys how to wire it up and any of the questions that you may have. Maybe you haven't done this in the past, or maybe you have, and you're going to see how simple it is to do it with this kit. So we're going to go ahead and show you the process of doing that. So here's a quick overlook of the harness. Now, this harness has been length to the 8th-gen Civic, but it's going to be a little bit long if you have an Rsx or if you have an EK. Now, one thing I do want to mention is the harness, the kit itself is more of a universal kit, but it's been designed to be a plug and play for the Rsx, the 8th-gen, the EK, the DC2, and as well as the EG. But you will see as I go explain about the video and how to get it all wired up. It is a very universal kit, and we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk you through the process, how the relay kit is all set up. That way you can understand it. So if you need to go over and look over anything, you will understand it. So our relay is here. It's already all pretty much ready to go for you, but I want to break it down. So here we have our ground, okay, and this is going to be for the relay, okay. We have our signal, okay. This will be going to our stock wiring on the vehicle. Okay? I'll show you exactly where that's going to be going, and this one makes it plug and play, and you'll see the whole process on that, but I just want to break it down. Here's our signal to our fuel pump. The green is positive, the black is negative. Okay, as you can see here, they do change wires here as well, and then here as well. So you can see we have two different pumps. Okay, and then here, the last is going to be going to the battery. So you can see here, we have positive and we have negative. You may be wondering what the little box is. So that's going to be our fuse. What that actually do protects any of this. If anything, you know, ever cut a wire and it's making contact in the chassis, any little thing, it will blow this fuse before any little damage happens inside the casing here. You don't want to have straight power going to here and then you have a short here, and then it's not going to be good because that's going to be inside the tank. So what this actually does, we'll put a fuse here, and that's what will trip her. Pretty much a breaker at that point, if you really think about it. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense and it's not too confusing. Again, our ground, this is going to be our signal. This, when you turn the key, this is when we're going to tell the relay to turn on and turn on the pump. Okay, so that's going to be our signal. This is going to be our fuel pump wiring. Okay, our negative and positive, and here we have our battery. Okay, so super simple. So here's gonna be how it looks on the car, and then I'm gonna go ahead and show you how it will be installed on the car, and that way you can understand this process. Right, so we're gonna talk pretty much one of the most important part of the kit that can get a lot of people confused, and it's completely understandable why it can't. So this is gonna be our signal. So typically it's going to be here plugged into your car. So you can see here we have a 5-pin, and here we have as well, I think this is a 4-pin, and it's very simple, and I don't want to confuse you guys, so please try to follow me up, and that way you don't get yourself in a riddle. So you can't get all the diagrams for all the cars, and it's completely understandable. And that's the issue that I was running with the 8th-gen. This is the 8th-gen, this is an Rsx, and it will be for all the cars. And maybe there's not a DIY info to get the pin out for which one is the signal out of these cars. So you can see here, we're going to need a signal and a ground. So the best way that I have figured it out is to go underneath the car, and you're going to see here, this is going to be our, it's not going to be our signal, but what this is going to be, this is going to be the signal to the dash to show you how much fuel you're going to have. Okay, so you can see here, this is what's going to be right here on this one. Now, this is not the one we're going to be using, but you can see here, there's a 2-pin here that goes in here. The one we are going to be using is going to be this one right here. So this is going to be our signal, and you're not longer going to be using this. So you can go ahead and take it off. So you can see here, mind this, I'm doing this with one hand. Okay, so we're no longer going to be anything here because you're going to be taking your old fuel pump out and you're going to be upgrading it, and it's going to look something similar to this. So what we're going to end up doing is, so now you see the 2-pin. Oh, now you can't see. So the 2 pins right there at the bottom, which is the ones back here. Okay, those are going to be the signal to the car. That's going to tell that when you turn the key, it's going to tell the pump to turn on as if it was for here. So you can see here. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, as you can see, there's 2 pins. 1 and 2. What we're going to be doing is they're going to be going here. So we got our positive and our negative. And then at least for the EK, the Rsx, the HN Civic, you can unpin the plugs from here, okay, and then plug it directly onto here. And I will show you how it looks on the car when I get to there. And then all you have to do is after, you can see here, this is a plug that literally plugs right up to that. And just to give you a better visual, I'm gonna do it on the car, but I just want to give you an example out here, because when going in the car, it can be a little bit messy and things can be all over the place. But I want you to understand how to look for the signal on your car. So you can see here, it's going to be the one back here for the Rsx, and I'll show you exactly for the HN. So the HN one is going to be over here. So again, we have our signal. Okay, you can see the black and yellow, and that's going to be the signal for this. So we can tell the dash how much fuel we have. But you can tell the other 2 are still there, as you can see there. Okay, so the other 2, so you know the back ones are going to be for this, and the front one is going to be your signal. Okay, so you can see there. So that way you'll know to plug it into here. Okay, if you don't know which one's positive, negative, you can always flip them to here, and then until you hear the pump prime. Obviously, this is the very first step, and I want you to understand, if you don't or can't figure out, like, oh, I don't know which one's signal and which one is the one I need to plug here, take the pump out. Either way, you're going to have to upgrade the fuel pump, and to look underneath, and then you know that you need to have this 2 that will go to here, and that will is the one that's going to give signal to the dash, and the other 2 is the signal that you need to put it here. So that way the relay knows when you turn the key over, this will turn on and will tell the pump turn on itself, and it has its own system here to manage it. Hopefully that's not too confusing, and I know it's kind of all over the place, and I'm trying to explain it the best that I can and visually so you can understand it. And I even took this out of the car so you guys can, get the best view possible and you don't get yourself confused. So now that you understand the signal part, we're going to go ahead and work on our fuel pump assembly to get it to know where you need to wire it up. So you can see here on the fuel pump, we have our plug here as if it was for here, and then as well as the other plug. So now I will be supplying the kits with one of these little grommets. I haven't, but I noticed that it will be very not ideal not to have it, as what this actually does is covers so you don't have any smell going up to your cabinet, and you don't be smelling gas all the time. And you can see it's a very cool process how this works. And I'm gonna go ahead and back it out so you can see here, and it's a piece that you're able to process the wires through. So you can see here, and you will need to drill a hole. And one of the things I cannot stress this enough, don't drill the hole too big. Go little by little when making this. Okay, so don't get crazy. On the Rsx, there's 2 sides. Okay, so when you do the fuel return system, you're going to do the return here, and you're going to do this plug that you see here. You're going to put it on this side. And then when I do the fuel kit assembly, I'll explain that on the car for that. But this is kind of more like you figured out where you need to put this at. But on the HN, I mounted it here. This is where I have the room. There's room on the other side, but it's not really ideal. So I ended up mounting it here. And then one thing that I was doing now versus before is I'm going to go ahead and give it to you guys already with the plug already crimped. As you can tell here, I was not giving it to them crimped, but you had to cut it and crimp it yourself and then pass it through. But I feel like people just are not going to be ideal to have maybe the crimping tool, or they're not going to do it right. They're just going to have kind of maybe a trouble with it. So what you have to do is unpin these 2 wires and then fish it through, because for the other side, you can see here, it's actually a plug. Okay, and you really cannot pass that plug through there. So either you can unpin this side or you can unpin the other side. Okay, that's very simple. I can show you. So what you need to do is easier to really unpin this side. What you want to do is go ahead and take this plug out. Okay, that what protects it from sliding out. And then what we're gonna do is push that down, and I'm gonna show you exactly how that's gonna do it. That way you don't have a question how to unpin it, and you need just a like a bobber pin or something very small. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this out so you can get an idea how that's gonna be going, because now I'm gonna go ahead and supply it with the cable and this side. So imagine this with the cable going down to here, so that way you can get a better idea, and you don't have to, you know, be crimping anything, and you can just have this already, you know, ready to go. So even if I give it to you on pin, you still need to pin it back in. So I just give it to them already full assemble. If you can't figure out to unpin it, worst case, I'll suggest to cut it here. Don't cut it here at the bottom, and you know, try to solder it and try to put some heat shrink here. You don't want to do anything in here. You don't want to have any cuts or any here. You can have it outside, because anything here, the fuel will eat it through. So if you can't figure out, worst case scenario, you can't figure out how to unpin this, you can make the 2 cut here and do the assembly here, because you need to fish the wires through. So in order to have this seal in the cabinet, so you don't want to be smelling any fuel, guys. I will really hate for you guys to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and unpin this, show you how that looks, and give you a quick idea of what you need to do. But then all you need to do is plug it back in here and make sure you put this on, because without this, the wires can come up on loose. So we'll go ahead, and I know it's a lot of talking, but I want to be able to lay as much information as possible, and we still got to go to the car and show you how everything's gonna be laying out, so you can get a better idea. But I just want to be able to cover and explain as much as I can, so that way you guys don't have hundreds of questions all the time and trying to figure out how it works. Do be mindful, everything is already pre-assembled here for you guys. Pretty much all you guys have to do is take care of, you know, the signal and then the power to the pump. That's literally about all you have to do. And then, you know, just run the ground, the positive and negative to the battery, and that's kind of ready to go. I do have a dual fuel pump kit, but that's something probably a different video that I'm gonna have to do. I don't think it'd be ideal to really cover it here. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys how to unpin this, and it's simple as it can be. So make sure you have this facing up, and what you want to do is stick the bobber pin or whatever you can find something, and you want to push down like this, as you can see, and then pull back at the same time. And you can see you're able to pull this back, and to pull it back in, same process, just push it back in like that, and now it's able to lock. Now to lock it in place, and you don't want this to come back out to you guys, you want to make sure you put this back in here, because otherwise the cables can back out, as you can see. Okay, so if you don't put this back on and you do a pull and this cable's back out, you're in for a ride. So make sure you put this little locking piece, and that's what keeps them in there from backing out. So you can see, we're gonna go ahead and do the other side so you can see how simple it really is. So again, face it up, we're gonna go ahead and push it down. At the same time you push them down, you wanna pull the back. So it's a little tricky, but it's not too bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and push them back. You can see, you can hear it lock in. And then again, put this back on, and that is it. So you're gonna go ahead and pretty much be able to get them out of here. So you can see here how this works. So mind this, let me see if I got something to pull this out. Let me see if I got something to pull that out. All right, so you can see how this works. That's a little grommet there. So you do is fish it in there. Make sure you have both the wires, and then you have the cap. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the cap on there. Fish it out, and then make sure it's in place. All right, there we go. And then what it does, the more you tighten it, actually it got out of place there. The more you tighten it, the harder it will tighten this, and it will keep it from coming out on the fluid. So you can see here, pretty much, you know, now you have any of the fumes not coming up into the cabinet. So that's this process. We're gonna go ahead and show you how to do the other one, and that's gonna be on the car. So let's go ahead and jump on that.